Let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to the May 2026 CALPADS Regional Update meeting. The focus of the session today will be looking ahead towards the 26-27 academic year in CALPADS. My name is Matt Clark. I am a data governance administrator at CSIS supporting CALPADS, and I'll be your host for the May regional updates. All right, this slide provides a direct link to access the materials from today's session. So you have two options to access today's slide deck with the Zoom Resources tab and the CSIS Resources page. So in addition to the direct link placed in the slide deck, there's also a Resources tab in the toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom window for today's webinar. If you don't see the Resources tab in the toolbar right away, it's probably under More with the three ellipses there. So please do click More and find the Resources tab. We will make resources available in the Resources tab as they become relevant to the presentation, beginning with the slide deck, which I have just activated in the Resources tab. So you should be able to go there to download the slide deck right now. So please do go to the Resources tab, download today's slide deck, and ensure that you have access to the materials today. We will have presenters from CSIS as well as from the Education Data Management Division and Special Education Division at the CDE. Our presenters will also be monitoring the Q&A box in order to provide answers to your questions as we move through the slides. Presenting from CSIS today will be Rima Mendez, our Requirements Management Officer, as well as Heather Coda from Requirements Management. We have Angela Ratty, our Client Services Architect, as well as myself representing Client Services at CSIS. From the Education Data Management Division at the CDE, we have Diana Casanova, Education Administrator over the CALPADS office, as well as Paula Mishima, Education Administrator, and we have Sean Walker, IT Specialist in the CALPADS office. We also have Dominic Johnson, IT Specialist from the Special Education Division at the CDE. All right, this slide shows the agenda for today's session. So we'll begin by taking a look at the tentative 2026-27 CALPADS calendar before we move into special education updates. We'll then discuss general changes before moving into final 25-26 end of year updates. We'll then get into really the heart of the session today with looking ahead towards the 2026-27 academic year before we kind of wrap the session up by providing support updates, reminders, and resources. And that is a lot of content to get through in the couple of hours that we have together today. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first section, which is the 26-27 CALPADS calendar. And this slide shows the suggested dates or the kind of tentative dates for the CALPADS reporting calendar for the 26-27 school year. These dates are tentative, they are pending approval, but it is very likely that the dates for the 26-27 CALPADS calendar, once they are approved and published, will resemble this table to quite a large extent here. So in 26-27, both Fall 1 and Fall 2 will open on Census Day, which is the first Wednesday in October, and this year it lands on October 7th. Fall 1 has an initial certification deadline of December 11th, 2026. This is the date by which LEA approval is required and CELPA approval is strongly encouraged. There's then an amendment window, and the final deadline for end of year 1 will be January 22nd, 2027. And that is the final deadline date by which certification is required. Certification is LEA and CELPA approval. So both LEA and CELPA approval will be required by January 22nd, 2027 for the Fall 1 data collection next academic year. Fall 2 does open on Census Day, but you can begin reviewing snapshots, reports, and certification errors beginning just after the initial deadline for Fall 1, so beginning in about the middle of December. Fall 2 has no amendment window and has only a single deadline of February 26th, 2027 in the 26-27 academic year. We then Take a look at the end of year data collections. Both end of year 1 and end of year 2 will open on May 4th. End of year 1 has an initial certification deadline of July 16th, 2027. And again, this is the date by which LEA approval is required and SELPA approval is strongly encouraged. There's then an amendment window, and the final deadline date for end of year 1 will be July 30th, 2027. For end of year 2, it again does open on May 4th, 2026, next academic year. And there is no amendment window for end of year 2. So there's only a single certification deadline, and that will be August 16th. 2027. The final deadline date for end of year 2 is the same as the cohort pull date. So CalPADS is continuously processing cohort data. However, the CDE does pull cohort data from CalPADS in order to calculate the adjusted cohort graduation rate, or ACGR, as well as to inform rate calculations on the California School Dashboard. And the pull date for that cohort data will be August 16th, 2027. Again, the same date as the deadline for end of year 2. And that does conclude our discussion of the 26-27 CalPADS calendar. Let's go ahead and move now into our next section, which is special education updates. Oh, I do have one question in chat here. Rebecca asks at 107, sorry if I missed it, will we have access to the Fall 2 certification reports beginning October 7th, 2026? So in general, Fall 2 does open on October 7th. It typically opens on Census Day, similar to Fall 1. But Fall 2 certification reports, snapshots, and certification errors typically become available for viewing by the LEAs just after the initial certification deadline for Fall 1. So that is December 11th. That is a Friday. So I would anticipate that you can begin reviewing those Fall 2 certification reports beginning on about December 14th next academic year. But thank you for that. Thank you for the question, Rebecca. I'll go ahead and now send it over to Dominic to discuss the special education updates.
Thank you. So we do have some new validations, new for end of year. Plan 748E1, invalid school program setting for student on ISP. This validation enforces the program setting 403, parentally placed in private school for your students receiving services on ISPs. An update on students with disabilities status 749E1, which is an eligible participating student must not change statuses on the same day they exit school. This is currently disabled. The trigger is being updated to only trigger for specific completion statuses and exit codes related to indicators 1 and 2, graduates, and dropouts. For this end of year, we have a new certification report as well as a supporting report. Report 16.27, completers and dropouts count, with supporting report 16.28, completers and dropouts student list. These reports will show students with disabilities most recent exit between July 1st and June 30th of the selected academic year. These reports are expected to go live in the next week or two. And here we have the example layout of report 16.27, the completer and dropout counts. Notice columns for high school diploma graduates, alternate pathway diploma earners, as well as those earning a certificate of completion, as well as max age and dropouts. Do note students with disabilities will only appear on these reports if their status is eligible and participating on the enrollment exit date. For your private school enrollments for your students with disabilities, private school enrollments, enrollment status 50 with a school code of 6 zeros followed by a 2, should only be created if a student is parentally placed in a private school located within your LEA's boundaries and is referred for initial evaluation for special education, or a student with disabilities on an active ISP or IEP transfers into a private school located within your LEA's boundaries. Nonprofit private school enrollments should remain open for the duration of the academic year and then be exited at the end of the year with exit code E170, non-primary enrollment exit, even if the student is not being served on an ISP. Enrollments for your for-profit private school students should be exited with N470 no-show when the exit date is equal to the enrollment start date. This is because students attending for-profit private schools are not eligible for equitable services and would not be receiving services on an ISP. If an LEA elects to use CalPADS data to calculate proportionate share for the provision of equitable services, then private school enrollments for the last 3 years should follow the guidance from the prior slide. If you choose to utilize CalPADS data, you're encouraged to clean up these enrollments over the last 3 years to ensure that students who were actively served on ISPs appear in Report 16.12 and in the Students with Disabilities Status Real-Time Extract for each academic year. Also, students that were evaluated but whose parents declined will appear on Report 16.23, Students with Disability Status and Non-Participation Reasons, as well as the Students with Disability Status Real-Time Extract for each academic year. We are heading a private school and proportionate share work group to work on these and other issues. The objectives of this work group are to develop and release new private school file submission scenarios, which are in the final phase of revision currently, as well as release frequently asked questions and guidance on private school data for students with disabilities and proportionate share calculations. Now, the next 2 slides, I'm not going to read everything. They're tables talking about the end-of-year data that we use for federal indicators and monitoring. For example, you can see the Indicator 1 graduates uses certified end-of-year 1 data, which you can verify and monitor using Report 16.27 and 16.28. On the following slide, we show the ODS data that we use for these indicators and the real-time reports that you can use to monitor your data. And last but not least, we have some roadshows still on the calendar. We will be going through each of the previous 2 slides, all of those reports and indicators in great detail in the roadshow. So if you've not had a chance to join us yet, please take a look and see if there is a spot you can take. Or on May 21st, we are hosting a statewide virtual session. So whether if you've seen or attended a previous roadshow and want to refresh, or if this is your opportunity to join, we do hope to see you there, and you can register at the link on the slide. Let's take a look at questions. This question doesn't appear to be related to special education.
So I don't think it's right for you a good question for you, Dominic, but I do think it's a good question for the panel. So Eldrick asks at 109, question related to cohort removals. Before updating a student's exit reason to T240s transferred out of the US, would just a written note in our SIS from the attendance office documenting confirmation from the student's aunt that the student is now living outside of the country, would that note be sufficient for the transfer code?
Yes. But they should have a local process codifying it and how they capture that note and everything and document it. So I would refer them to their child welfare and attendance monitor for that local process.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean. All right.
My pleasure.
Well, that brings us to the end of the special education updates. We now move to general changes, and I pass this off to Diana.
Thank you, Dominic. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, congrats to all that have transitioned to the new CalPADS identity provider and have a new username and password. For those that haven't transitioned, if you're a CalPADS local user, please get in touch with your CalPADS administrator as they're going to need to assign you a new account. If you are a CalPADS LEA administrator, you're going to have to submit a CalPADS service desk ticket with CalPADS administrator account request in the subject to initiate the process of getting a new account. We have updated guidance for all CalPADS users posted on the CSIS YouTube training channel, and you can see the link listed here on this slide. Okay, so we talked about this new user authentication in Flash 319, and in that Flash, we explained that there are 2 phases. So phase 1 required all users to get a new username and password for logging into CalPADS by May 1, 2026. So we've just gotten through phase 1. The previous slide speaks to all you need to do if you weren't able to make the deadline of May 1, 2026. We're going to be pivoting over to phase 2. That is going to include turning on multi-factor authentication for your CalPADS account. So phase 2 is anticipated to occur later in the year, sometime following the close of end of year 2, and more information will be forthcoming.
Thank you, Diana. We'll now move into some final 25-26 end of year updates. And to start us off in this section, we will send it back over to Diana.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is a reminder that we consolidated the prior 4 end-of-year submissions into 2. So end of year 1 with a final deadline of July 31st, 2026 includes the previous end of year 2, 3, and 4 minus 1-year graduates and completers. It also includes a new count of graduates and dropouts between the time range of July 1 to June 30th, and this is for students with disabilities. Finally, it includes the new expanded learning program data submitted on the new LEA program LEAP file. Okay, now moving on to end of year 2. This has a final deadline of August 17th, 2026. It includes the previous end of year 1 plus 1-year graduates and completers for all students, and the time range for that is August 16th to August 15th. The final certification deadline is the same date. That data will be pulled for the 4-year cohort. All right, so speaking about the 4-year cohort and end of year 2 certification date and the pull date. So it's August 17th, 2026. The graduate cutoff date, though, for the 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate, the ACGR, remains August 15th. So students must have a graduate exit date by August 15 to be included as a graduate in 2025-26. Note that the end of year 2 certification deadline and the ACGR pull date are the same. That's Monday, August 17th, 2026. The certification deadline and the ACGR pull date will always be the next business day after that August 15th grad cutoff date. However, when August 15th falls on a Friday or the weekend, the certification deadline and ACGR pull date will be the Monday the following week. So we're in this scenario this year with August 15th being a Friday, therefore August 17th becomes the certification deadline and the ACGR pull date. So, and as a reminder, students who graduate after August 15, 2026 will not be included as graduates in the 4-year ACGR, adjusted cohort graduation rate, for 25-26, but they will be counted as 5th-year graduates in 26-27.
This is Paula. Good afternoon, everyone. So these are just the reminders for this coming end of year submission. As you know, the expanded learning collection is new this year. The new LEAP file should be available in production now that the window has opened for end of year. Just reminding you that uploading the LEAP files, it does require a new LEAP role. So make sure you have that if you're going to be uploading that data. And also, you need to certify the new report 19.1 expanded learning program participants count in order to certify your end of 1 submission this year. So just don't forget about this little file that's new, because you need to certify it or review it and so forth to successfully certify end of year 1. Just a couple of reminders, because these questions keep coming in. But you're to report on the LEAP file the total number of days a student participated from July 1, 2025 all the way to June 30th, 2026. That means if you have a student who's enrolled in an ELP over the summer, and that summer begins, say, June 15th and goes through to July 31st, it's kind of a bifurcated reporting. You will report kids their participation from that first day to June 30th for this year's end of year, and then the days that they participate starting July 1 and after will be reported in the next school year. It's all on a fiscal year basis. And it's that way because that's the way the funding flows. And we understand that it kind of doesn't completely align with how the program might operate. And just one FAQ will be updated. It should be posted any day now regarding when you do expanded learning and attendance recovery on the same day, that the students may participate in both, but they can't do it at the same time. In other words, the most obvious scenario is they come in, check in an ELP program for a bit, and then they go to attendance recovery program. So they're actually participating in both on the same day, but they're not participating in both programs at the same time. Okay, so that's the distinction that the FAQ hopes to clarify. Just some reminders for attendance recovery. The stats file now has a new column in it. The reports have a new column that reflects the field attendance recovery days, where you are to put the number of days that were recovered by a student. One clarification that will be posted soon on the FAQ page for attendance recovery is this distinction between short-term and long-term independent study. Long-term independent study, which is defined in statute as non-classroom based programs or a non-classroom based charter school, cannot participate in AR, and they don't generate attendance recovery money. And it's further defined in the attendance recovery statute by saying if a student is participating continually in traditional independent study for a span of 16 days or more, that means they're in non-classroom based programs and they are not eligible for claiming attendance recovery. However, if you're going to participate for fewer 15 days or less, then that is considered short-term independent study, and those students are eligible should they not complete their requirements for a given day and are considered absent. So that clarification FAQ will also be being posted shortly. These are the two specific FAQs that are being updated to clarify those points. So do we have any questions?
We have a couple questions in the Q&A box. The first one is from Ada at 123, confirming that we are only reporting students participating in expanding learning programs that are officially part of an ELOP, or are we reporting student attendance regardless of program funding?
You are reporting any student who participates in Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, ACES, which is After School Safety Education Program, or the 21st Century. There's 3 expanded learning programs whose participation you should be reporting on the LEAP file. You don't have to distinguish between the programs. It's just going to be one count of participation days for any of the 3 programs. The flash that we put out on this articulates what those 3 programs are. So it's all 3 programs, not just ELOP.
All right. Thank you, Paula. And then the next question is from Alexandra at 124. For attendance recovery, we have a site participating and students are getting supplemental attendance. However, for ADA purposes, we are electing to declare any ADA makeup days. Would we have AR days or not?
Basically, if you have a student who is absent for any reason, meaning it's either an excused or unexcused absence, or if you're an independent study student short term and you don't complete your work, you can claim those, you can recoup attendance recovery days. I'm not sure. I think you might be asking if they're absence from a supplemental attendance. That question you should pose and submit it to the attendance recovery folks. That would be their call.
All right. Thank you, Paula and Alexandra, for the question. Tanya, looks like Rima is providing you an answer in writing to your question at 125. So we'll move on to Rebecca's question at 125. A few LEAs have asked what the negative impact is for not reporting ELP. Could this qualify them for CALPADS DA?
Well, all CALPADS actually knows all the LEAs who are receiving ELP funding or 21st Century funding or ACES funding. So we are going to be expecting data from you. For ELOP, we also know that if kids register to participate in ELOP, but they never come to a day, you still need to submit 0 participation days. So you need to be submitting something if you are receiving funds for any of those programs. If you certify a report that has zeros and everything, it would look suspicious. And I think especially if you're receiving ELOP funding, because if you're receiving ELOP funding, you're getting some amount of money that should be going towards providing the program. So I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it does. She says thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that does, One more question here from Rena at 127. You stated if we are reporting those, what if we have students on a waiting list?
Oh, that's a good question. So in other words, they're ELOP and they've registered, but they can't participate because they are on a waiting list. We'll take that back and provide you an answer.
Right. So stay tuned for guidance, Rena. All right, that does bring us to the end of the questions in the Q&A box. And with that, the end of the section here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section, which is looking ahead towards the 26-27 academic year, the real heart of the presentation today. We're going to begin by looking at some language course content subcategory codes. And for that, I'll send it over to Rima.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so this is just a reminder that in 23-24, the CDE adopted the ISO language code set. However, the world language subcategory, which is inputted in data element 9.28, which is part of the course enrollment completion file, were not updated due to how extensive the valid code combos would get for this. And so we decided that for 26-27, we would align the world language subcategories to the ISO codes based on the review of the last 3 years of data. And based on that review of data, we determined that only 43 course content area subcategory world language codes were used out of the 114 that were already in the code set. So what does that mean? So for 26-27, we're going to be mapping those 43 high usage world language subcategory codes to the ISO codes with the start date of July 1st, 2026, and then the old world language subcategory codes, and those were the ones where we had the 2 character codes. There are 114 of those, and we're going to end date that with a June 30th, 2026. Now, if there is the new mapping that we have of the 43, if there's not a language code that's mapped, you can go ahead and use MIS, which is uncoded languages. Other non-English languages can be used. So that will be in effect 26-27. Passing it over to Diana.
Thanks, Rima. Okay, so we have quite a few updates to the student exit category codes due to the passing and chaptering of AB 1984, Pupil Discipline Transfer Reporting, which added the following education code. And I'll just read the first part, which is the most salient to the next few slides. So commencing in the 26-27 school year, the department shall collect and publish on its internet website, and local educational agencies shall provide to the department data on pupil transfers due to disciplinary reasons, including whether the pupil transferred to an alternative school based on a referral by the school. So this addition to education code prompted us to do a deep dive into our transfer codes and to move toward a stronger alignment between what we collect and state and federal statutes, so what we have to report out. So to meet the collection and reporting requirements, the CDE has made the following updates to the CALPADS student exit category codes. We are going to be retiring 167, referred by school and or school district, to withdraw from / leave school for non-disciplinary reasons, and T168, alternative or independent study school discharge. We will be adding new T166, transferred to alternative education school program due to disciplinary reasons. And we're going to be modifying 2 codes, T160 and 165. So 160 transferred to another California public school, and 165 transferred to another California public school due to disciplinary reasons. Okay, so this is the new code, T166, transferred to alternative education school program due to disciplinary reasons. So bear with me, I'm going to read it all because I do think it is important for today. So this code, the definition is the student was referred by a school and or school district, and the district has acceptable documentation that the student enrolled in an alternative education school in another California public school in the same district or in a different district for one of the following reasons. 1, a student was referred by school and or school district to withdraw from / leave school and transfer to an alternative education school for any disciplinary reasons except those specified in T165. So do not use this code for one interdistrict transfers, as in formal agreement pursuant to Education Code Section 46600, NCLB Public School Choice Program Improvement, NCLB Public School Choice Persistently Dangerous, District of Choice transfers pursuant to Education Code Section 48313, or don't use it for 2, students who are referred to an alternative education school for disciplinary reasons by a juvenile court judge or other correctional or judicial officer, or who are expelled pursuant to Education Code Section 48915 A, B, or C. In those cases, you'll use T165. So we're modifying T160, transferred to another California public school. Note that all independent study transfers will use T160. All alternative school or independent study school discharge, so what was previously used for the retired 168 will also use 160. This definition now includes the following. You can use this code, may include court school students who either transfer to another California public school with acceptable documentation or complete their sentence and are released without documented evidence of a subsequent transfer, provided the exit was not a result of a school or district referral. And in the definition of T160, we strike out the retired T167 and T168 code and add the new T166 code. Finally, we're modifying T165, transferred to another California public school due to disciplinary reasons. Okay, so T165, I'm going to read this one again as well because it is another important one to walk through. So T165 will now read, mandatory transfer due to discipline reason. The student was mandatorily exited from the school for a specified disciplinary reason to transfer to another California public school within or outside the district. The specified disciplinary reasons include 1, referral by a juvenile court judge or other correctional or judicial official, or 2, expulsions pursuant to Education Code Section 48915 A, B, or C. Do not use this code if a student is expelled and referred to an alternative education program for disciplinary reasons other than those specified in Education Code 48915 A, B, or C. That's when you're going to use the new code T166. If it is unknown whether the student enrolls in another institution, use E300, expelled, no known enrollment. I figured there'd be a question.
We did get one question in chat or in the Q&A box there, Diana. So I'm confused from Alexandra at 136. I'm confused about the T166. Can you put it in easier terms? Let's go back there.
That is tricky because of it does require that specificity. So if I were to summarize this, or how I would think about this is used at a high level, quick sentence. You're using this code for students that are transferring to alternative schools for disciplinary reasons, except for disciplinary reasons in Education Code Section 48915 A, B, or C. That's when you'll use T165. And there is the other, scenarios where you would not use this code. And that's when you see those interdistrict transfers, the NCLB public school choice. I mean, I think the details are in there because we really want to be very surgical with how you're thinking about using this exit code.
All right. And then we got a couple more questions in the Q&A box there at 137 from Aaron. If a student has an incident record and without an expulsion hearing, a student is recommended to enroll in a county program. Would this be a scenario for, I think, T166?
I'm going to open that question up to others here, but I think this could be a good question to submit to the CALPADS inbox.
Yeah, this is Paula. I would say that yes. Basically, what distinguishes 165 from 166 is all the kids did an offense that's in statute, but the 165 kids, there's the statute basically says the school district has no choice to expel them. It's a mandatory expulsion. So all the other statutory reasons for why kids could get suspended or expelled, you would then submit a 166 for those kids. So I don't know if that helps. And even if the kid was not actually expelled, but they found to have committed the offense, and they're being recommended to move to a county school, then that would be a 166. It's a referral, and that's kind of the gray area the statute is trying to get at. It's a referral. It's not really a voluntary transfer.
So we note that it's a referral, but they have the acceptable documentation that that student has actually enrolled there, though, too. Correct?
Yeah, that piece is, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you for the guidance, Paula and Sean, and thank you for the question, Aaron. Next, we have a question from Anna at 137. Which exit code should we use for military families who are relocating from state to state or out of the country?
That would be a T1, was it 180?
160, close.
So
well,
I would
they're going to another state. It's out of state transfer, right? But you need acceptable documentation, and there's another code for when they're transferring out of country.
Out of country, right?
I want 200.
So for this question, I really, really recommend folks go to our system documentation. Like that exit code is captured in there, and so go to the CALPADS section of the CDE, the website, and look at our system documentation. That is it's an exit code in there along with the similar definition. Well, not similar definition, but like similar amount of detail in the definition.
All right. Thank you, Diana. And just for the sake of time, we want to make sure that we're trucking along. So we'll take one more question verbally, and then for the other questions in the Q&A box, I'll ask our panelists to provide written answers for those questions right there in the Q&A box. So I'll answer Anita's question, or ask Anita's question at 138, because it did receive a thumbs up from other participants in the session today. So Anita asks at 138, I'm just confused about how a student would be referred to another school due to disciplinary reasons if they haven't been expelled.
Paula, would you be able to chime in about that one? I also think this is another good question to submit to the CALPADS inbox, because I would want to connect with our policy and program folks to do like the proper research to get that answer, Anita.
So also a student can be transferred, though, for non-disciplinary reasons if they are just like falling behind, like in credit recovery or so, and they can be referred to an alt-ed program for those types of reasons. So that's an example to me when I would use T166, because that's not discipline related, and it does not have a statutory offense for suspension or expulsion attached to it.
So Sean, T166 is a transfer to an alternative school with the disciplinary reason, because of a disciplinary reason.
So it's more when it's a recommendation, is my understanding, Anita, then. So although they may have a disciplinary reason, it's not the disciplinary reason that is attached to the ed codes within the T165. So if it falls out of the included ed codes for T165, then to me, it would be the T166. And then Paula, I heard you.
No, I would just say
if you wanted to clarify or
it's
chime in.
helpful to go back to the statutory language that we're trying to follow, because what they're trying to capture from a policy perspective are kids who are being referred to other schools, alternative schools, because of a disciplinary reason. That wasn't called out in the code we used to have, the 167, because it had commingled in their independent study and other things. So this code, we're trying to capture what the statute is looking for, which are basically kids who are kind of being referred by the school district to go because of a disciplinary reason to go to an alternative school. It's not because they're mandatorily required to, but because they kind of want, they're referring the kid. Everybody else ends up being a T160. So I don't know if that helps.
I do think that is helpful guidance. Anita, if you have any follow-ups, go ahead and get those in the Q&A box as well, and we'll try to answer those. Again, just for time considerations, we are going to move on from the Q&A box, answering them verbally, but our panelists will be in the Q&A box providing answers to those questions in writing. So please make sure that you have the Q&A box open and that you're able to review those answered questions. We'll now move from the discussion on updating student exit category codes to the discussion on a new RFEP validation. We're going to stick with Diana for this one.
All right, thank you, Matt. Okay, so we have a new end of year one certified data discrepancy validation. It's effective this year, so for 25-26. It's going to be implemented sometime in May of this month to ensure that students reclassified Fluent English Proficient RFEP status start date does not match their enrollment start date. So we've listed the error and all the details on the slide. You can see in the table. So this validation supports the calculation of the percentage of English learner students that reclassify, which uses the formula reclassification rate equals total number of EL students that reclassified divided by the total number of EL students. So note that when a student's RFEP status start date is the same date as the start of their enrollment, the student and their enrollment lack that English learner status for calculating the rate, right? So we need those two conditions to calculate the rate, not necessarily to count the number of RFEP students attributed to an LEA or attributed to a school, rather to be able to calculate the action of EL students reclassifying, right? So you need an EL condition and an RFEP condition. EL status, RFEP status. Okay, so we're finding that for data submitted during the 25-26 school year, so this school year, most instances where the enrollment start date equals the RFEP start date, it's for data submitted for students who reclassified during the summer. The CDE will be notifying LEAs with RFEP records that are going to trigger the new fatal SELA 0751E1 error to ensure earlier awareness of the issue and to provide you time to update those records. And we've included some steps here today on how to address the errors. So LEAs are going to need to identify the students with RFEP start dates that equal the enrollment start date. They're going to need to submit a record that deletes the RFEP start date and then submit a new record with an RFEP start date that is at least 1 day after the enrollment start date. I'm going to pass it to Sean.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. And so for the job classification and course attribute updates, these are pushing forward for the 26-27 school year, and we are redefining JCC specifically for teachers. And the reason for this change is because currently many itinerant and or pull and push out teachers are receiving CalSAS misassignments or monitoring authority exceptions. However, the course section should be reviewed as a characteristic of the teacher, and thus it's a best practice for students to be reported for that compliance. By reporting the itinerant teacher as a teacher, inclusive of their services, this will allow for us to improve the FTE transparency in CalPADS, also enable accurate assignment monitoring by the subject area, and support CTC evaluations of the teacher authorizations. Specific changes are going to include retiring the JCC's 12 teacher, 27 itinerant or pull out, pull in teacher, 25 non-certificated administrator, and 26 charter school non-certificated teacher. While 26 and 25 are not directly related to the teacher portion of this request, they're being retired as a consistency because all educators require a seed from CTC now, and that seed is can be easily be obtained just by the educators completing their certificate of clearance, their COC. What we'll be adding for 26-27 will be 13 teacher instructional assignments and 14 teacher non-instructional assignments. We'll also add to the CRSE and C, the course completion, the course enrollment and completion files, 2 indicators, one for itinerant teacher and the other one for pull-out push-in teacher. I'll go over the definitions and details of everything that's being added in the next few slides. Before that, though, I just want to reiterate these items are being done again to align with the objectives that they support, bringing clearer distinction between instructional and non-instructional roles, enhanced data for teacher shortage reporting, and then also the better alignment just overall with CTC monitoring requirements. And so for the definition of teacher instructional assignments, this will be a staff member who holds a position at a school or a district with an instructional teaching assignment that requires certification or other state alternative, and whose duties require providing direct instruction to the pupils in the schools. For those teacher assignments, again, they must have the SEED that is issued by CTC, and their staff assignment and demographic data must be imported into CALPADS via those 2 files first. Teaching staff that have instructional assignments, examples of those include, but are not limited to, the following: a teacher, an instructional teacher librarian, an itinerant or pull-out push-in teacher, an independent study teacher, and teachers facilitating or leading online courses, and in some cases, long-term substitute teachers. And so for the 14 teacher non-instructional assignment, the definition for this one is a staff member who holds a position at a school or a district with a non-instructional support assignment that requires certification or other state alternatives, and whose duties do not involve providing direct instruction to the pupils and a school. The non-instructional support staff included in these data, again, they must have a SEED that's issued out by CTC, and their staff demographics and assignment files must be sent up within CALPADS first. Examples of the non-instructional support staff that have assignments can include, but are not limited to, a mentor teacher, a peer assistance and review educator, other certificated or non-instructional assignments, non-instructional teacher librarian, a teacher on special assignment, a special education case manager, non-instructional only, a program coordinator at the school site level, or a department chair. And so again, those were the 2 definitions for the 2 items being added to the code set. And then these 2 here will be for what is added to the CFS for the CALPADS file specifications within the course file, the course section file. And the 2 indicators are going to be 9.37 for itinerant teacher and 9.38 for pull-out and push-in teacher. These will be again added to the definition for the 13, and then you can just simply select the yes or no optional indicators. If an educator is serving both an itinerant and pull-in and push-out role, both of those can be selected yes. And then for the itinerant teacher definition here within the CFS, it just identifies, again, a reiteration of the itinerant teacher definition that matches with code 13. For 9.38, it just matches again with the staff member for pull in and push out to be able to be identified. And then we give the examples down at the bottom there for the pull out and push in staff. If they're reported in CALPADS, they just have to have that instructional assignment to be included. Examples are listed as well for your RSP teachers. your special education teachers, your ELD specialist, and any of your interventionists or reading specialists. And then on the prior slide, you had like your different math, like specialists and coaches there to best identify which examples are there. And I think we'll pause for questions here.
And we do have a couple questions related to the job classification and course attribute updates. They begin at 151 in the Q&A box. If you want to scroll to the kind of the bottom there, we're still fielding some of the questions from the prior discussion there. So at 151, we start relevant to the job classification and course attributes. Erica asks, how will self-contained elementary schools report itinerant or pull-out push-in teachers if we do not use courses?
Excellent question. And so everyone uses a course code. And so for that one, if it's an elementary school, you would just use the 1000 for self-contained is what you're indicating. And so for those individual sections, Erica, you would make sure to indicate within the course file then the yes or no indicators for 9.37 and or 9.38.
All right, thank you, Sean. And then Raina at 153 asks, now will we be required to create multiple course section enrollment or completion records for teachers who are non-instructional assignments with 0 students assigned to them?
Those teachers have always been reported, Raina. So I guess I'm just not clear on what you mean by the multiple sections for them. You would need to at least report one of them for what it is that they are providing push-in or pull-out services for. And I'm not sure if that answers your question fully. So for this one, I may need a ticket.
She provides a clarifying comment, yes, but under the staff assignment, the SAS record. And then Shelley provides the thought, they are reported with STEM and SAS, but not CRSE or CRSC files, right?
I'm going to bounce that to somebody else in the room, please.
I can help with the staff assignment piece of that. So staff assignments are reported by job classification and by school site. And so if they do have multiple job classifications, you would be required to submit SAS files for each of those job classifications. And then even if they are only working under a single classification, if that occurs in several sites or more than one school site, you would submit SAS records for each of the school sites that they are providing services. But that has always been the case. Sean is right. We've always reported it this way. This change doesn't affect your reporting of multiple SAS records for multiple classifications or schools of assignment.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. And then Anita, your question, do itinerant teachers need to be at multiple sites? We have elective teachers with single subject creds at all of our elementary schools. And while some are at multiple sites, many are only at one site, but they teach students that are assigned to a primary self-contained teacher. Yes, Anita, just like Matt, the previous question from Raina, yes, that has been consistent with our reporting model that yes, those teachers that if they are itinerant within the staff assignment file, they should have an FTE percentage at each one of those school sites for the instruction that they are providing. And that's regardless of whether or not they're RSP or EL instruction. It would simply be for every LEA, because again, that's how you're accurately counting their FTE for a data quest and then also for your TAMO reporting.
Raina asked a clarifying question, so kind of a follow-up to our discussion around the staff assignment and how many staff assignment records to report. She agrees, but she says, but now we're asking for this information in course section records. So would we indicate multiple course section records for this? And Sean, you have an answer you seem confident in.
Yes, so you had to report the different course sections for that educator, because again, that's what's going to match up to their FTE and what they're providing at those LEAs. So yes, you would report at least one course section for that LEA that they're serving at.
All right, perfect. And then Erica, Paula is providing an answer for you in writing to your question at 2 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and move to Eric's question at 2:01. Do we need to close the retired job classification codes at the end of this academic year? Or does it not matter as we'll be using new ones next academic year?
I believe that's not going to matter, but I'm going to bounce that over to Rima or Heather for requirements on that.
It shouldn't matter, but for best practice, I would suggest that you do.
Excellent.
There's no
Yeah,
dates
Eric.
in the SAS record though, Rima. Just by
Um,
academic year.
So if they upload a new one, right?
Every
it'll
academic year.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
there's no start or end dates
Oh,
in the
that's right.
SAS.
Okay. I'm getting confused with STEM.
Yeah, so the job classification codes go into the staff assignment records. There's no end dates to those records, but we do ask you to upload a new one every academic year. And that brings us to the end of the questions for job classification and course attributes. Thank you so much for that discussion, Sean. We'll go ahead and move on now to discuss new course codes for the 26-27 academic year. For this one, we're going to go back to Diana.
Okay, the CDE and CTC are aware of the 3 newly proposed AP courses and the standalone personal finance course, which is slated to become a graduation requirement beginning in the 2030-31 academic year. The CalPADS office has already anticipated these courses or these course additions for the 26-27 academic year and for the version 18.0 code set, which will be effective 26-27 and will include the 4 new course codes. We are providing this update now to allow LEAs time to plan and add any necessary placeholders to their master schedules. Okay, so on this slide, we have the new personal finance course code of 9704. It has an effective start date of July 1, 2026, and this course code satisfies the California Education Code Section 51225.3 graduation requirement. Then we have the new AP Networking course code 9705. Its effective start date similar, July 1, 2026. And this is the AP Cybersecurity course code 9706, again, effective July 1, 2026. And finally, we have the new AP Business Principles with Personal Finance course code 9707, and that also has an effective start date of July 1, 2026. An important thing to note about this one is that this new AP course cannot be substituted as the state graduation requirement set forth under the new course code 9704, so that personal finance one that we saw in the first set of slides for this new course code section. And that's, again, under the requirements of Education Code section 51225.3.
Now we are going to look at an immigrant data update. And for this one, we're going to hear from Diana once again.
Thank you. Okay, so as part of California's federal reporting requirements, the CDE must submit immigrant data to the U.S. Department of Education. So this collection of data includes the count of immigrants ages 3 through 21 in the TK through 12 grade levels, and the reporting period is the entire school year, so July 1 through June 30th. So it's cumulative enrollment. As you may know, CalPADS has a Fall 1 certified report, the 2.1 Title III eligible immigrants count, and we collect that at Fall 1. However, it does not currently have a similar report for the cumulative count of immigrant students. So starting this next year, 26-27 school year, we're going to have a new end of year immigrant student certification report. That's what we're going to add. And this is going to allow the CDE to fulfill that cumulative enrollment federal reporting requirement. It's going to strengthen our compliance, improve accuracy, and increase transparency. So there is visibility into what the CDE reports to the U.S. Department of Ed. And it is all aligned to that federal reporting requirement. So it's the same definition of Title III eligible immigrant students that are in the Fall 1 report. It's collecting that at end of year. So again, having that census day count as well as the cumulative count.
All right, thanks, Diana. Now we'll send it over to Rima to discuss the SENR full replacement.
Yeah, I just want to make a point too. We're trying to answer your questions in the Q&A, and if you don't get a response, or we're asking you to restate your questions, please do, and then we can definitely take your questions back so that we can talk internally on how we can update any type of guidance that we need to, specifically around the exit codes, and I know the job classification codes as well too. I was here trying to take notes at the same time, so I'm trying to make sure that we're answering all your guys' questions. You guys are asking some really great questions too. So thank you for that. Okay, so centerfold replacement. So we are adding a new option via the file upload to allow users to submit a center batch file as a full replacement, as opposed to the current process right now, which is transactional updates. And the reason why we're doing this, because we're trying to figure, there are some current, center pain points right now where you can't easily update an enrollment date, which is commonly what most people do when they're trying to update one record, because it's not part of the operational key. And then also right now, we don't allow for multiple transaction types within a file, because we do allow it, but it causes validations that are not triggering as expected. So some of the current workarounds right now is not mixing up the transaction types within a file. So you send deletes up and then you do your adds and updates right now. So this proposal is optional, and you can see it on the user interface right now. This is a full refresh SSID enrollment, and part of the operational key will be the academic year, reporting LEA, and school of attendance. So it will be by school of attendance. So this will not affect online maintenance, so that will continue to do transactional processing. And to support this full refresh, we recognized that we needed to implement a few new validations. And one that we already did in October 2025 is a fatal center 0742. That's an invalid academic year based on enrollment date. And the purpose of this validation is to make sure that the academic year submitted in the file, it aligns to the actual enrollment start date. And then also we're going to be implementing a new warning validation for low record count detected. And basically this is to warn users that if the number of records being replaced is small, the new operational key could result in unintended data loss in the system. So again, it will be optional. And the next steps for this is that we're going to be doing some user acceptance testing with vendors and some LEAs sometime in 2026-27, definitely after end of year submission is completed.
All right, and we did get a couple of questions in the Q&A box about the centerfold replacement. Jan asked at 2:15. So is this actually going back to the old way?
Kind of, sort of, Jan, because you know the old way. But yeah, but this is a little bit different in the fact that this is full replacement. And so basically you could wipe out your entire set of data based off the academic year ID that you're using.
A nice word of caution there, Rima.
Mm-hmm.
All right, second question here related to centerfold replacement from Heather at 2:16. So now there will be two SENR file options in the upload menu, correct?
Not right now. So right now we want to, we're going to test out the centerfold replacement first before with some of the some LEAs and some vendors before we make this option available. But eventually it will. If this option is viable, then you'll have two options of doing this, but not right now. And we'll definitely communicate that out when this option is available.
All right, thank you. And we got one more question pop in from Candy at 2:18. Would we still need to do the ODS SENR reconciliation?
It's probably always a good thing to do, but if you're doing full replacement, then you would assume that everything that's in your system is going for that academic year is getting updated into CALPADS. But it's always good to, download your ODS extract to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Lori asked a question at 2:18 that is related to the job classification code and course attributes update that we provided earlier in this section. So Lori will provide an answer to your question in writing in that Q&A box. But just to keep on topic and keep trucking along for timing's sake, let's go ahead and move from the discussion of the SENR full replacement and from the looking ahead at the 26-27 academic year section. We'll move into discussing CALPADS support updates here. And we'll begin by discussing the CALPADS pathway to differentiated assistance. So if everyone remembers, Back in 2023, the CALPADS Pathway to Differentiated Assistance was created with the passage of Senate Bill 114. The CALPADS Pathway to DA is currently being implemented in a phased approach. This academic year, we are using final CALPADS deadlines as the criteria for inclusion in DA through the CALPADS Pathway. So in 25-26, any LEA that was unable to certify the Fall 1 or Fall 2 data collections by final deadlines, or who will be unable to certify the end of year 1 or end of year 2 data collections by final deadlines, will become eligible for 1 year of differentiated assistance with the release of the California School Dashboard in October of 2026. If you guys remember, that same Senate Bill 114, created the earlier release of the California School Dashboard. That was also implemented in a phased approach. So in 2025, the dashboard was released in November, and in 2026, the California School Dashboard will be released in October. That is the final resting place. And so you can expect moving forward from 2026 onward that the California School Dashboard will be released in October, and the information about districts that are eligible for differentiated assistance, including eligible for DA through the CALPADS pathway, is released with the California School Dashboard. So that is a bit of a discussion of what has been taking place this academic year in 25-26. To discuss the 26-27 academic year and the data quality criteria, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Diana.
All right. Okay, so in 26-27, the CDE is moving toward fully implementing CALPADS differentiated assistance to add data quality as an eligibility criterion for DA. We've worked with colleagues across divisions and programs here at the CDE to help define CALPADS data quality and discuss how to operationalize the data quality criteria included in CALPADS DA. So here's what we do know. Every year, the CDE is made aware of LEAs who have submitted or certified inaccurate and or incomplete data after the close of the CALPADS collection window. So this is either, coming in through an LEA that is self-reporting the inaccurate data, or it happens as a CDE is analyzing the certified data. We do find LEA data that's inconsistent or anomalous with their historical trends. So in these cases, when we reach out to LEAs to ask about our findings or to confirm the inaccuracy, the LEAs either explain those differences or they confirm the inaccuracy. So it's worth noting that these aren't small differences. They're noticeable differences with questionable legitimacy. So in this scenario, this is by definition a data quality issue. So we'll be using this as a foundation for establishing LEA eligibility for CALPADS DA due to data quality issues. So as the CDE builds capacity to support this work, we'll continue to evaluate the potential for including other criteria to address data quality. And when we have updates, we will be sure to communicate all that information.
All right. Thank you, Diana. We do have one question from Anita at 222. Does differentiated assistance only last for one academic year if all criteria are met the year following the year that qualified an LEA for DA? I can take this one. So there is a distinction between CALPADS differentiated assistance, or DA through the CALPADS pathway, and traditional differentiated assistance. Traditional differentiated assistance has a 2-year eligibility period, where a CALPADS DA has a 1-year eligibility period. And if a district, an LEA, or a county office meets the eligibility for differentiated assistance through the CALPADS pathway again the following year, they will experience an additional year of eligibility. So if they are unable to meet certification deadlines in 25-26 and again are unable to meet certification deadlines in 26-27, or have data quality findings in 26-27, then they will remain eligible for an additional year. So it does, whether or not you remain eligible does depend on your ability to, I guess, satisfy or not satisfy the DA eligibility criteria. All right, and then one more question from Raina at 223. What other reports or areas are you using to determine inaccuracy, correct or complete data?
So I wouldn't frame it or think of it as we're looking at a report or we're looking at an area. We're looking at the objective of CalPADS DA or in the collections. We are, we want the data to be timely, we want it to be complete, and we want it to be accurate. And so when we are finding evidence of inaccurate data and we're, communicating with LEAs about the red flags we're seeing, the anomalies we're seeing, whether they're reaching out to us or we're reaching out to them to let them know something doesn't seem right here. That is what will, when we've identified that the data is inaccurate, that is what will make the LEA eligible for DA.
Perfect. Thank you, Diana. And thank you, Raina, for the question there. That does bring us to the end of the questions related to CalPADS differentiated assistance. So thank you so much for your collaboration on this slide, Diana. We'll go ahead and move on to discuss CSIS supports for LEAs who have arrived in DA through the CalPADS pathway, as well as county offices providing technical assistance services to their districts in CalPADS DA. So CSIS has implemented 2 initiatives to support both districts eligible for CalPADS DA and county offices providing those technical assistance services for CalPADS DA to their districts. And the first was the Data Governance Academy. The Data Governance Academy was held throughout the 25-26 academic year. We had a roadshow session in October where we were in 5 regions throughout the state at a central county office and broadcasting to watch parties in the surrounding region. We then had a virtual check-in session in February where we had a panel interview with Hemet Unified School District in San Bernardino County about their local data governance practices. And then we had a second roadshow session where we were in 5 regions throughout the state, broadcasting out to watch party sites as well in April. Those April sessions have now concluded, and so we are complete and finished with the CSIS Data Governance Academy for the 25-26 academic year. We were able to reach about 2,500 participants, and survey results have given quite a bit of positive feedback. And so we would like to continue doing leadership trainings throughout the state. You should look for communications on any leadership training that we plan to offer in the 26-27 academic year once we get closer to the beginning of that year. We aren't looking to kind of do another instance of the Data Governance Academy, but we are looking to target leadership in training around data at LEAs throughout the state. I would, before I leave this slide, like to use some time here to thank our hosting county offices of education for each of those roadshow sessions. I would like to thank our watch party sites and our watch party site facilitators for all of your collaboration and coordination in getting folks participating in the Data Governance Academy locally. And I would like to thank everyone who participated in the Data Governance Academy. It was quite a exciting experience to kind of travel the state and work with everyone on this content. So thank you guys so much for your participation, and to our hosting county offices and watch party sites. Thank you so much for your collaboration. It was truly an honor and a pleasure to partner with everyone this academic year. Again, please do look out for communications regarding leadership training around data for the 26-27 academic year in the coming months here. In addition to the Data Governance Academy, we've also implemented a Universal Supports Toolkit, which is meant to assist LEAs in differentiated assistance remediation or county offices providing those technical assistance services. The Universal Supports Toolkit contains a data management maturity model where LEAs are able to view the landscape of performance in data management, with data management performance at 5 levels, including characteristics, artifacts and evidence, and criteria for progressing to the next level. We also have an assessment which will help LEAs to establish a baseline of performance and determine improvement targets for differentiated assistance remediation or for proactive data improvements at the LEA. In addition to the maturity model and assessment, we also have a root cause analysis guidebook, and we are kind of implementing a new and updated version of the root cause analysis guidebook. It'll be available in production on our website very soon. but it is not yet available in production on our website. So what I'm going to demo for you now is the root cause analysis guidebook in our test environment, but I would check our website in the coming weeks for the root cause analysis, for the updated root cause analysis guidebook in production there. So one of the changes that we made is that this guidebook really was intended to assist LEAs in differentiated assistance, but LEAs who were not eligible for differentiated assistance were looking to use our tool in order to be more proactive about improvements around data management and data governance at their organizations. And so we have differentiated between the two now. You're now able to select differentiated assistance review if you're using this tool while in differentiated assistance remediation or providing differentiated assistance services. And we also have a proactive data governance assessment option that you can use if you are not eligible for DA, but are looking to do kind of a holistic improvement effort at your organizations around data. Whichever one of these you select, the activities are largely similar. There's differences in language. For example, if we select differentiated assistance review under getting started, it asks how you became eligible for differentiated assistance. Did you become eligible due to timeline compliance, or did you become eligible due to data quality issues? If we select proactive data governance, that will instead read, are you concerned about timeline compliance? Are you concerned about data quality, or are you conducting a general data governance health check of your organization? So we have kind of attempted to further differentiate the different purposes that LEAs have when they go in to use the tool. Whichever of those you select, you are prompted to, in the first activity here, input the data sets that you would like to kind of assess performance around or target for improvement. And here we've put some of the data sets from the Fall 2 data submission. So we've got staff assignment, course enrollments, support staff assignments, and CTE post-secondary status. Those are just examples. You're able to populate any data set from our drop-down list. And one improvement that we made is that these are no longer limited to the data sets in CALPADS. We have added some broader data governance areas based on feedback from the field. Folks were looking to use the tool to improve some of the data that is that exists locally but is not reported in CALPADS. For each data set that you populate in the tool, for a policy, a procedure, and a practice, you're asked to identify whether this exists, whether it is defined and up to date, it is outdated, incomplete, not defined, in development, or it does not apply. So we have a kind of a spectrum of performance for each of these data sets around policies, procedures, and around practices. This is an important time to note that this assessment should not be performed by a single individual in isolation. It really is best to go through this tool as a team with representatives from the various business areas that have expertise over these data sets and from teams that are involved in data management at your organizations. Those will be the people with the best kind of expertise and knowledge of the existence and kind of efficacy of policies, procedures, and practices. Once you've completed that activity, you can go on to the next activity, which has you engage with a large language model, or AI, in order to iterate a problem statement. We have updated the formula for these problem statements to make them more actionable for LEAs and to make them a bit more clear-cut for folks. But I would also add that you should never just kind of copy and paste this into a piece of local documentation. This kind of language that's generated by AI is always meant to be updated, revised, modified. It's meant to be kind of negotiated with your local teams until you arrive at kind of an edited, revised version that everyone in the room can get on board with, or that you kind of build consensus around in the room. So that is kind of activity one after you've given us some information about your data sets and policies, procedures, and practices. We help you to formulate a problem statement. Once we have a problem statement, we will ask for the problem. We will ask you to identify different causes for the issues. And we have placed buckets or categories that you can use to generate or place causes. So there can be causes in personnel, processes, technology, project management, collaboration, and leadership. And These will help you to kind of organize your thoughts around the different causes for the problem as stated in the tool. You can put as many different causes under each of these buckets as you'd like, and then you're also able to rank causes. I've put a couple here just to show functionality. Once you do rank them, their ranking is color-coded. So the highest rank is red, the second highest is yellow. We kind of mimic the color coding of the California school dashboard with how critical a specific cause is. Once you finish this kind of cause analysis, you can input some team notes in the bottom there, and then you can rewrite your problem statement via AI, and it will take any of the notes that you input into this section, as well as all of the cause analysis performed in the tool into account and provide an updated problem statement for you. Again, that updated problem statement shouldn't be copied and pasted right into local documentation, but it is kind of a starting point or a springboard for you to be able to revise it until it is something that everyone in the room is satisfied with. Once you're finished with the cause analysis there, you can go on to work with AI or the large language model to provide an executive summary. That's a very short and concise summary meant for your cabinet level leadership or the executives at your organization. Those folks may not have so much time to get into the weeds about what occurred, but they're still very interested in what is occurring with these efforts. And so this executive summary is meant to be digestible by folks who don't have a significant amount of time on their hands for review. We then have a final report, which does include a lot of that detailed information. And so this will provide information on what occurred through each of those activities in the tool. So we have the local data collection, the problem statement, the causes, and then team observations or team notes. The executive summary is also provided at the end of the final report. And then finally, we have an action plan, which again has you engage with AI or a large language model based on all of the prior activities in order to create an action plan that will cause improvements in data management or data governance at the organization. We have improved the formula around this action plan as well. So now it does include a table with tasks, responsible parties, and success metrics, as well as due dates. Again, generated by AI, shouldn't be taken at face value, but should be engaged with in order to kind of come up with a local action plan, either for differentiated assistance remediation or for local improvements. So that is our newly revamped root cause analysis guidebook as part of the Universal Supports Toolkit to support LEAs in DA, as well as county offices providing technical assistance services to LEAs who have arrived in DA through the CALPADS pathway. So,
Matt, can you show folks how to get to that once it's available?
Yes. So let's go to our home page here. This is actually our home page in test. I'll show you where it is in production, but it's not yet there. So if you go to our home page that you can arrive at this URL, csis.ficmat.org. And on our homepage, if you click CalPads in the ribbon at the top of the page there, and then Universal Supports Toolkit, you'll arrive at our Universal Supports Toolkit with all of the tooling that I just mentioned. And the root cause analysis guidebook is right here. If you click on it right now, you'll kind of arrive at our old version of the guidebook. So you can see some of the updates that we've had in place here. So this is what it looks like now with the update. This is this is the first version, but it will be in exactly this same place. I would recommend checking back here in the next couple of weeks to get a view for the new root cause guidebook. All right, seeing no questions in chat, I would like to thank my fellow panelists for answering any questions that may have come up in chat. Angela, I'll go ahead and send it over to you for some support tips, resources, and demos.
Great, thank you. All right, so we have some exciting things happening on the service desk, and we just wanted to share them with you and help prepare you for these changes. The first one is that after many, many, many years, we are getting a new service desk software system. We've been using the same one since CalPads launched in 2009. And in fact, it hasn't had any updates in several years. So it's far behind technology-wise. So on a new product. It's got lots of bells and whistles. You probably won't see everything at first. We're going to roll it out, just kind of basic functionality, but it's got, AI built into it. It's got all kinds of things. I just wanted to alert you that that is coming later on this month is the target, and show you what some of it will look like once you start logging in. So you'll access the requests the same way that you do now under Help Service Requests. So this is the current form that you guys are all familiar with, and you'll notice it pulled over some of my information because I was logged into CalPads over here. And our hope is that that's going to be the same when we launch. But this is what it's going to look like now. This form is a little bit different, and we haven't connected the user ID from CalPads login to this form just yet, but hopefully that will be there by the time we do launch. So it should pull in some of your information here, and basically the same fields you fill out now. I think it looks a little bit different. And then you submit it, and you'll get an email back that right away, just like you normally do. It says, we got your ticket. Thank you. Here's your ticket number. So like I said, most of it is not going to be visible to you, especially right away. But we should be able to be more efficient with our time, and things should process a little more smoothly. Things like when you guys send us a screenshot right now, it goes into our ticketing as an attachment. So we have to click several times and then download it and then open that download to find just a screenshot. It's kind of ridiculous. So this system's a lot more modern. So we're excited that that's happening. One thing that you need to be aware of is that we had originally thought we'd like to keep both systems running for a short period of time. So we'd take in new tickets on the new system and close out existing tickets. That doesn't sound like that's going to be able to be feasible. So there will be a hard cutover date. Now, the vast majority of our tickets we're able to resolve same day, so that's not that big of a deal, but there are times that tickets take a little bit longer. For example, if you submit a defect, right, that could be weeks before that ticket gets closed out, or you have a policy question and CDE needs to go around to different departments at their office and figure out the answer to that. So there may be some instances where we ask you to resubmit those tickets if you didn't get an answer, and we'll have more information as we get closer to launch. So we'll be communicating more about what that cutover is going to look like and what it means to you. And like I said, that target launch date is later this month, but more info is coming. The other exciting thing happening is that also under this help here, we are giving the user manual a facelift. So this is what the new one's going to look like. So a lot of the same resources that you're used to seeing, the roadmaps will still be here, just laid out a little bit differently. But the quick links are here. The content is mostly the same. It's just you'll be finding it a little bit differently. So for example, if I wanted to look for the report mapping guides, I would click on CalPads functionality, and then I'd look for reports, and then report mapping guides. So it's fairly intuitive to get around. I like the look and feel of it. The big exciting news on this page, for those of you that have keen eyes, you might have noticed this little link for a SPED data guide. We've been anxiously awaiting this document for a long time, and it's going to be embedded inside of the user manual with all of those little pieces of information that we've collected about SPED for the past several years. Brandy and Dominic's team has been working really hard to put this together. I think we're waiting on one more piece before we're ready to give it a go. And so I don't have an exact ETA for you of when this is going to go to production, but I anticipate that to be fairly soon. And that was my updates for today. Do we have any questions, Matt?
No questions, but we do have a comment in the chat that the user manual looks amazing. And they love the SPED data guide inclusion. Oh, we did get one question in chat from Rebecca at 243. Is the CalPads manual replacing the data guide that was once posted on the CDE website?
So yeah, good eye. The data guide, the traditional data guide is not in here, but that is also getting a rewrite because it's pretty stale. So we got to take all those flashes and incorporate them, and that work is underway. And I believe it's getting close to completion, and we do plan to embed it into this user manual, similar to how the SPED data guide. It will have its own link, and then you'll be able to navigate it like this, similar to the SPED data guide.
Angela, let me just update that. What's almost ready is the SSID enrollment procedure guide. After that will be the data guide. So the SSID enrollment, that's much closer.
Okay, thank you, Paula.
All right. And not a question, but another thank goodness. Awesome.
Yeah, we're excited.
Cool. Let's go ahead and round things out with some resources and support reminders. So this slide contains some very helpful links for resources and training, beginning with the CSIS training registration page. Please do visit the CSIS training registration page to get a view for all of our upcoming trainings. We have the remaining May regionals up there now, as well as the final live training for end of year, which is end of year 2 reporting and certification occurring this Thursday. So please do attend our end of year trainings. If you haven't been to the end of year 2 RNC yet, please be sure to register for that on the CSIS training registration website that's linked to on this slide. Below that is the CSIS YouTube training channel, which contains recordings of all of our training content, including the May regionals. We do plan to post the recording of the May regionals up on the CSIS YouTube training channel in the next couple of weeks here. We also have the CALPADS user manual, which in production does not yet have the new facelift and kind of additional features that Angela mentioned, but it is still quite a helpful resource for folks as you go through the end of year data collection that's currently underway. So please do ensure that you're looking at the CALPADS user manual, as well as the link just below that with the CDE webpage for CALPADS system documentation. The CDE webpage for CALPADS system documentation and the CALPADS user manual are your go-to resources for guidance documentation in CALPADS reporting. And then the final link that we have on the slide is the CSIS resources page. You can find the slide deck for today's session on the CSIS resources page, as well as the slide decks for all of our end of year trainings. And templated documents that we provided in the CSIS Data Governance Academy are also provided in the CSIS resources page. So it is becoming a good one-stop shop for kind of documentation that are relevant to specific trainings in particular. All right. This slide contains ways for you to obtain support primarily through the CALPADS Service Desk. So this top link here is a link to the Service Desk web forum, and the Service Desk web forum is the fastest way to obtain support from the CALPADS Service Desk. You can also submit a ticket by emailing calpads-support@cde.ca.gov or by leaving a voicemail with the phone number 916-325-9210. However, if you either send an email to this email address or if you leave a voicemail with this phone number, we will then need to transcribe those messages into support tickets. So it does add an additional layer, which causes the process to kind of slow a bit. So the fastest way to obtain support from the CALPADS Service Desk is to submit that web form. Below that, we have both the CSIS listserv and the CDE CALPADS listserv. The CSIS listserv is a fantastic place for two-way communication. You can communicate with other LEAs or agents from CSIS and the CDE on the CSIS listserv. It is quite a kind of an active community there on the CSIS listserv. The CDE's CALPADS listserv is the venue where timely updates regarding CALPADS are provided to the LEAs and to the field. So it is important to ensure that you are registered for the CDE CALPADS listserv, and it is also important that you are part of the CSIS listserv to ensure that you're up to date on all of your CALPADS guidance and to communicate that, or in order to communicate with others from the field. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this session up now. So the next session for the CALPADS Regionals will focus on Fall 1 and Fall 2 for the 26-27 academic year. And that session will be held in September. It will be held on September 8th and September 9th. That is a Tuesday and a Wednesday. We are some months out from September now, and so the registration for the September Regionals is not yet on the CSIS training registration page, but we will send out announcements in several communications once it is posted on the CSIS training registration page. This will be the only place that you can register for the regionals in the 26-27 academic year. So please ensure that you are registering for the regionals on the CSIS training registration page in September once that communication is distributed. All right, time for additional questions if you guys have them. We have about 10 minutes left in the session. We had a lot of questions throughout the session today, but I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A box. I'll try to buy you guys a little bit of time to get some of that populated in there before we close things out today. Kristen asked, any idea if the September regionals for the Central Valley will be on the 8th or the 9th? My educated guess here is that they'll happen on September 8th in the afternoon. We typically have the Central Valley regions as the afternoon session on day 1. All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending the May regionals. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for your active engagement throughout the afternoon. It is great to see everyone. And we will see you again at the Wednesday Q&A tomorrow if we don't see you before then.